here. I'll get it started. My name is Larry Massey. I am with the City Planning Commission. This meeting is the Capital Improvement Plan hearing for the Department of Property Management for the years 2024 through 2028. This process is, the purpose of this process is to give the departments, I guess the task of mapping out the next 5 years for what they expect or what they need in terms of capital improvements. And a major part of this process is to allow public input and visibility on those requests prior to the council consideration or even mayoral consideration in the development of the capital budget. What we ask of each department during these meetings is to please just give a summary of the requested projects, allow for any questions that might come up throughout the meeting, and after we've asked those questions, we'll give an opportunity for the public to comment if you want to. With that, maybe start with introductions. Larry Massey, City Planning Commission Deputy Director.
Carrie Bradshaw, City Planning Commission, Brownfields Manager.
Jerry Harris, PM Supervisor for Capital Projects.
Catherine Champagne, PM for Capital Projects.
Tish Mohan, I go by Mo, Director, Department of Property Management.
Dave Smith, Director of Capital Projects.
Rachel Berg, City Planning Commission, I'm the Administrator.
Get started whenever you're ready.
Okay, so this is the DPM capital request for the next 5 years. While I've been here a year, and one of the amazing discoveries is that the department nothing is until it just literally falls apart, and then it's a massive change, a massive upgrade, etc. So throughout these requests, what I have thought through is putting in plans for example, HVAC maintenance and repairs, elevators maintenance repairs, and there are components that are, some of them are very expensive, like a chiller replacement is very expensive. Even elevators can be very expensive, and they're not necessarily capital projects. It falls on DPM sometimes to make these repairs or buy something new. In fact, I think I've budgeted too low, but we want to be consistent with previous expenses, previous capital requests. So we don't want to be outrageous in our demands or what we think we need. So let's take it one at a time. I have seven requests. Excuse me, 7 requests. We had 8 on the original, and we've withdrawn the 8th one. I'll talk 2 minutes about that. But okay, so the first one is citywide building repairs and upgrades. It's the capital request is literally a straight line $4 million a year for everything that I just spoke about. It could be it could be HVAC, it could be elevators, it could be sprinkler systems, it could be sprinkler might go into life safety, but mechanical and electrical systems. We went through the past 8 weeks. We've gone through the most horrendous time with city properties, specifically the NLPD properties, where HVAC in the headquarters was out for almost 6 weeks, and it took us 4 weeks to get the contract ready for that repair. Those things are not going to happen if we go into contract with companies and they are on contract to respond. Anyway, these things are meant to say, do an inspection, tell me what I need fixed, and what is the life cycle for the major components of these systems. And these are somewhat guesstimates, but they are reasonable for all the systems we have. Remember, we maintain about 400 plus properties, and literally there are times when, as recently as a few weeks ago, we had about 15 major problems that we were getting a lot of bad press on, which all needed to be fixed, and some of them are $80,000, $60,000. These are not cheap repairs. So anyway, that's the first one, which is citywide buildings and repairs. So it's probably a low number, but we've kept the protocol and kept the number at 4 million. Any questions on that?
I think I just have a couple. The first is, with the 4 million each year, is that something that would just allow you to react to these major issues that arise over the year, or would it allow you to do some more proactive?
One of the things that we need, and we don't have yet, is a true asset management system. I don't know how old the stuff is, but with the help of maintenance programs and the coming of the asset management system, which we now expect in 2024, we need to be able to plot out our life expectancy for major systems over a period of some years. So I could clearly see that maybe the chiller, and we'll talk about City Hall in a minute, because obviously there are some plans for a new City Hall, and we're taking that into account. So one of the things we want to develop in 2024 is to be able to lay out our plans for these repairs and say, okay, the chiller at the Civil District Court got to be replaced in 24, and its age of, and it's had these kinds of repairs, and it's just going to fail pretty soon. Or the elevator in police headquarters needs to be replaced in 2025. We haven't gotten there yet. And the only way to get there is a combination of putting eyes on the system with technicians who can give you a report and say, this thing's got, like anything else, it's got another life cycle of another 12 months, and then you're going to be looking for something. So then we can peg that. There are actually systems on the market, asset management systems, which if you put the right data in, tell you for 10 years what your projected capital plan should be, including roof. I mean, I know a lot of it encroaches on capital, but roof fixes, or roof replacements, or elevator replacements, or things of that nature. So the answer to the question is, the correct answer to the question is a combination of maintenance plans, putting eyes on the problem, and putting an asset management system into place. We'll be better able to predict this stuff. And there may be times when we say there's a spike in 26, which we didn't account for. Look at all these things that really have a life expectancy, and they're already gone 5 years beyond, or some are 20 years beyond life expectancy. Still ticking, right? The issue, for example, I'm sorry, it's logging off here. Anyway, that's the answer to the question.
Mo, just to piggyback off of that question, talking about your implementation strategy. Say, if this funding is approved, and of course, we're pressing everybody now, making everybody aware that, we got to spend down this money within a 3-year period. Is your intent to have to contract with the company so that they can evaluate all of the systems? How are you going to implement this?
Okay. Let's talk about two of the major headaches we have: HVAC and elevators. With the elevators, I'm actually planning on bringing in an elevator consultant who would go and my previous life had used that kind of consulting. They literally, they go through a whole process, and they tell you, all right, this is what needs to be fixed, this is what needs to be, you gotta either change the elevator or do this and do this and do this. And they give you a path to work with. And I intend to do that. And in fact, just yesterday I was trying to remember the name of the consultant I used at Entergy. And they came in and made a proposal, and we replaced all 4 Entergy elevators in their main building in Loyola. So I expect similar recommendations here when we've reviewed all the elevators. And remember, we only fix things now when they break. As long as they're working, we don't break. And today, all elevators were down at police headquarters. That's ridiculous. And so therefore, that's like that. The impetus to bring in a consultant on that is enormous. As a side note, they happen to be Otis elevators, but they're not serviced by Otis. They're serviced by contract with somebody else. So what happens is the tech goes out and says, I need a part, I need an Otis part, and the Otis people. And I'm not sure that if Otis doesn't react that fast because they're not in the contract, right? They're just providing a part. If Otis, and by the way, we're asking Otis for Otis maintenance on Otis elevators. A lot of their parts are proprietary. In fact, just as an example, the 5th District HVAC problem turned out to be a Mitsubishi proprietary system with proprietary software that nobody could fix except the Mitsubishi slash whatever they were bought out. That particular arm was bought out. Anyway, they finally showed up. That thing hasn't worked in, my guys tell me, in years. I can't believe it that they existed on window air conditioners all this time. But even my own guys said, "Mo, congratulations, this thing is finally working." I haven't heard a peep from the 5th District since Councilmember Harris raised quite a ruckus about that. Anyway, so do I have a plan? Yeah, that's the plan.
I mean, what is your, okay, so year 1, you're gonna bring consultants in to evaluate citywide elevators.
Correct.
And HVAC.
Correct.
Is that, how much is that gonna cost roughly? And I'm just looking at.
The maintenance contract, okay, can I, let me give a quick answer.
And I don't want you to mix stuff. Maintenance contract is different from an assessment contract. So walk me through the assessment, and you can jump because I'm trying to get
The elevator will be a combination of maintenance and somebody else doing the assessment. The HVAC will be the people doing the maintenance and giving the assessments of what needs to be replaced.
Right. Okay. So this first year, the $4 million is going to go towards bringing in the consultants to do your assessments, and I guess you still have money here that you can engage your repairs as you need to have them done. So that's year 1. That's what's happening. Where you're still repairing as you have to, but you're starting the process of systematically identifying
Yes.
the units and the issues you may.
Yes, but remember that my maintenance contracts are coming out of my operating budget, so I'm okay there. I have money there. So the operating budget will fund the investigations as well, right? But if they say I need a new chiller, the money comes from here. So
and tell me once again, how did you come up with these numbers?
It's a combination of historic and trying to be reasonable going forward. I don't know right now if, for example, like as I said before, that there is a spike in 2026. I will know that sometime in 2024. So for now, I'm putting 2024 at 4 million, and if I find that my assessments tell me I need new elevators in police headquarters, I need new elevators in Gallier Hall, whatever, that's only one elevator, and so on, or a new chiller at the Civil District Court, whichever direction that is in, and so on, then we will revise these going forward. But for now, I don't want to call it a placeholder, but it's a good enough capital request that we could take care of the stuff that should be replaced.
Do you how much did you spend last year on elevator and HVAC repairs?
I don't know the number offhand.
I mean, you may want to grab it
I don't know.
just in case, because you cited historic information, so, somebody might ask, well, what is that? So,
The issue though, Vince, is that, again, not to use the same example, the police headquarters, the elevators have been fixed every week for the last 8 weeks. They come and fix them, and they break again. They come and fix them, and break again. There's something wrong there, right? It's a combination of, it never works 3 weeks in a row, 2 weeks in a row. There are 3 elevators, and I just went to police headquarters for other reasons, for HVAC reasons. And there was an elevator, this number 2 elevator has a police barrier kind of thing in front of it. Oh, Jesus. I thought it was fixed. All 3 elevators were fixed 3 weeks ago, and there's a barrier that says out of order, right? Today, as I said, we had a report that all 3 were done. In fact, I got a frantic call because they had a big meeting at police headquarters. Everybody was walking up 4 or 5 floors. I don't know if there's a spike, but I don't know about 2020.
well, with the temperatures being what they are, I mean, if this is the new normal, it's really a problem.
Things are running 24/7. As an anecdote, there's a CVS in my neighborhood uptown, and their HVAC system literally caught on fire. I mean, just black ceilings. And I walked into a company we use as well, Merck Rentals, who bring in temporary rental. I said, "Oh, what's going on here?" It's the thing that's going on all across my buildings as well. And they pointed to the fire. They literally caught fire. That could have taken down the whole store.
Is that the magazine, the CBS magazine?
This is on Britannia. Okay. Vince, you want me to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. Life safety, it really is about, things like heat pumps and sprinklers, and again, we've had, those of you who come to City Hall every day notice that there's a fire engine that's sitting next to it. That's because the fire pump hasn't worked in a while. And we've had conflicting reports, and finally we're going to go bid on that replacement. That's probably a $250,000 to $300,000 project. That's literally a life safety issue, right? So right now we have a fire engine sitting there, which is a waste of somebody's time, but we can't do without it because that's the law. But there are fire pumps and sprinkler systems and sprinkler leaks and that kind of thing happening all over the place. We had one just the other day. Somebody called me and said there's a sprinkler pipe that's burst in the VA garage. And Jerry, you told me that. Yeah. And we had it fixed that day. But those kinds of things can cause. Let me tell you, once the thing goes, it can flood the joint, right? And it can flood all the way down. So we have those issues. This would address those issues. Sprinklers, fire pumps, things of that nature.
So Mo, is this sort of catch as catch can? Once again, it breaks, we go fix it.
But we will get some studies done on some larger buildings where we're vulnerable. We had a situation about 3 months ago. You're not even going to believe. I mean, I don't have a picture of it. I don't know, Jerry, if you went up to the 10th floor. We had a situation where a pipe burst, and there was water cascading down, and our guys, because we couldn't get it fixed right away, our guys had erected an inverse umbrella to catch the water, and then they had jerry-rigged, what do you call it? Exhaust, sorry, not exhaust, but,
Gutters?
like a gutter, artificial, and then snaked it on the floor, on the 10th floor, into a drain pipe that goes down all the way to the bottom of the
Well, good for them.
Well,
I mean, that's impressive.
Never
It's
seen
impressive.
that.
that, it cost us about, I don't know, $30,000 to fix that problem, but it cost us about 3 weeks to get a contract to fix the problem, but that's neither here nor there. But that's the kind of state of building, maybe they're old buildings, and they have nothing. So whether they're old buildings in Europe, they're perfectly fine. In fact, I go because of consent decree, I go to the federal, the judge's office in the court where she is in the courts, in the federal courts. It's a beautiful building. It is kept out, it's maintained, it's gorgeous, and it's older than ours, I think. I don't know. I really don't know. But that's what government buildings should look like. You know, maintained. When I first came in here, I said, "Oh my God, I got a power wash City Hall. I got a power wash criminal court. They look awful." Well, you can't power wash these buildings because the windows are not a hold. The windows have cracks in them. Unless you fix the windows first and fortify them, you can't even power wash these buildings to make them. When I first took the job, I said, before I quit this job, I'm going to have criminal court, power wash, and flags flying at night because they have lights. Wouldn't that be pretty? Well, you can't power wash criminal court. The windows will not take, as it is, the windows leak.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a different story. Citywide efficiency upgrades, these are small numbers. We will continue to work with lighting improvements and such to make the buildings more energy efficient. We're not planning on a lot of this stuff. For example, the 7th floor. When we do the 7th floor, when the space plan comes in, there are some things we have to do with HVAC, make sure the walls are not obstructing vents and so on. But the lighting needs to be changed to energy efficient lighting, and brighter lighting, and energy efficient. So we'll do that on the 7th floor. We'll do them as we see fit. So energy efficiency is not a lot of money. We intend to spend some of it, most of it in 2024, and then just keep a little capital for energy efficiency projects.
Mo, for this one, do you have, once again, so you get the money, what's your implementation plan? The money's in place, then what happens?
Then I work with my project manager, who you were very kind to sort of provide, and say to him, these are the projects we want to work on.
Okay.
Go find me stuff that I can do. Here's the amount of money we have, and go to it. So that's, and we also get a lot of input from our operations manager, who's out there in the field all the time dealing with this Derek Martin I'm talking about. He's very knowledgeable about the state of the buildings and can provide help. The next one, Vince, I gotta tell you, this is where I need your help a little bit. I'm not even sure when I go into the VA building what is a DPM responsibility and what is a capital project responsibility. I know you're working on life safety right now on the buildings, but at some point I assume that either DPM's capital request for the VA facility. I'm not sure that we have a master plan for the building. Mm-hmm. It would help if we had a master plan for the building, but we are intending to occupy the building. So depending on where capital leaves off and where DPM is expected to, as in the case of the 7th floor, DPM is expected to prepare for the reoccupation of that floor. So DPM is expected to prepare for occupation of the VA building, not capital. Capital does the big stuff, right? The windows and the roof and all the big stuff that capital does. Then we have some money allotted for DPM's role in capital for specifically that VA building, and which requires probably a lot more money. you would have a better feel for how much money is required. But a lot of it will be on their side, on the capital side, but some of it fall into decline.
And more in that regard, it's just been pushing a rock through mud. But I do have a proposal to do a building use study for
Yeah.
VA.
Yeah.
Because we've got a few end users in the building now.
Yeah.
It's hodgepodge, and if we continue with that strategy, we'll end up with very inefficient, a building that's being used very inefficiently, that's going to be costing us a bunch of money
Yeah.
to maintain and to condition and those kind of things. So, my plan and intent is to have a building use study done, and it's probably, that's not going to be complete till at the end of the year. And then from there, we'll look at that and we determine, how would you best use the building. At this point, you need to have enough money in your budget to maintain the building, which we know that, that's not, the maintenance in that building is not standard. It's an old building, we use it and things are always happening, things are always breaking, so you're gonna have to plan to, keep the building maintained, keep it as safe,
Yeah.
and as, dried in as we possibly can, until we get to the place where we can figure out how we want to use it. So.
It's a very difficult building, as you well know.
It
I think
is.
most people know. Very difficult building. For example, currently it's one of our English buildings. I don't know which building it's called, but we have no AC working there. And to fix the AC, we need to get a certain very heavy motor, etc., up to the top. Well, the elevator is broken, and the elevator requires I don't want to call it a belt, but a pulley mechanism, whatever, which is being fabricated and has like a 4-month delay before. So we can't get the air conditioning fixed because the elevator doesn't work, and therefore now what we're doing, we're going to get a hoist to take this thing up on the side of the building. That's a lot of money. And there are people in that building who are working from home because they can't work there.
Well, have you been involved, we're doing the life safety building where we're upgrading, the sprinkler system, we're doing some elevator repairs, mostly infrastructure, work. I know that we're actually running a contract now to do roof replacement work, but have you been involved in, the planning and the discussions on that project?
I would say a little bit. I'm also involved tangentially in the move of the central evidence and property people, Sean project,
Right.
Robert's project.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm involved. I would probably want to be involved more, and probably, in fact, deputize my project manager to be the DPM's eyes and ears and
Yeah, we
capital.
need to have a rep from your department, on the, for lack of a better term, the steering committee, the project.
I agree.
You guys should
I
be
agree.
involved in that.
In fact, I'll put myself and Patrick on in that group. So
I'll
there is
have
the
Sean reach out
continuity
to
if I
you.
can't make it. So
Okay, but look, I mean, I kind of feel like this number is high. I could be, I'm scared to say that, but Jerry, what are your thoughts?
What, was gonna say, do you have a specific project in mind for the VA? To use these funds, or is this another, we'll, tackle it as we get to it?
No, there is no specific project in mind. We just know that the building is in serious need.
Do you have any idea how much you spent in that building?
I'm sorry, I should have done that. I should have done that preparation. What did we spend previously? I didn't do that.
Well, can you do this? You can do an analysis to, let's look at how much you spent over the past couple of years. And I would like for you just to kind of confirm this number. Look at that. I'm going to connect you with Sean just to make sure you're clear on the scope of life safety and everything else Sean has on the VA stuff, so that you understand what's happening there. Because we're planning on putting the EOC in one of the buildings, so there's stuff going on that obviously still going to require your maintenance efforts.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that this is an intelligent number.
What's the VA ask? We don't have copies of the presentation.
It's 14 million over the next 5 years.
And is the intent of that simply maintenance, or is that to fund additional things that may come up?
To find additional things that may come up.
Because I mean, just having worked like we have a bid right now that's going out for the contract for the roofing just on the main part of the building. That's $1.5 million. We're talking about several roof replacements that are going to have to take place, particularly on building F, where the shelter is. That could run probably in the same vicinity. It's not as complex as the other roof and not as high, but still you're talking 8 stories up to get materials up there.
Do either of those include windows or other hardening?
I don't think it does. None of our projects at this point, but if we're moving that's one of the other discussions, is that we're moving the EOC over. There's potential you're going to have to do hardening of the windows,
Absolutely.
the roof, because the roof that's there, more than likely, because I think that was built either the 70s or 80s, that building where the parking garage is. I have to go back and look at the drawings. But that's obviously not going to meet current wind codes. So if we're putting something like the EOC there, that's something that's going to have to be addressed sooner or later.
Hardening the windows is a big deal there. Lots of
So
windows.
There's lots of windows.
That's your concrete project that needs to happen.
Yeah.
You can point to there.
What I don't know is, and I thought I'd get together with them, with CPA, saying, is hardening of the windows in your plan anywhere? And if it's not, then we got to do it.
Well, you know what, and I still want you to go ahead and look at your past couple of years numbers, but, okay, having this conversation, this could be placeholders for the roof replacement.
Yeah.
Or seed money as we can go out and try to get HMGP funds. We would have a place where we can get, our match requirements.
Yeah.
So,
And then obviously the elevator is the other big thing in that building.
yeah,
Just in general.
So maybe this is in fact a good number.
Yeah.
We just have to make sure that we are coordinated
I got it.
in the scope of the plan.
I got it.
I have a question for you guys. So Vince, you mentioned the building use study. What is the situation with the assessments on the VA property? Can Brownfield support with providing assessments through the state funding? I don't know if you're at that.
I don't think,
that
we haven't
point yet.
really pursued, the brownfield money for this, because I don't think we've got, we don't have environmental issues there, right? I mean,
It's not that
Right.
We have phase 1, phase 2.
Yeah, no, that,
Where-
VA had it, so,
Okay.
and they just moved out of it, not 10 years
So
ago.
no need for
So-
cleanup either?
Yeah, they probably took care of all.
Okay.
And we may have some underground tanks, maybe.
we have remediated. There was is either 1 or 2 tanks that were under the parking lot behind where the court is right now. That's on the Gravier Street side.
Yeah.
That was excavated and removed. So that one has been remediated. That was the big one because I think that served the backup generators that were in the kind of that big building right below where the shelter is.
Yeah.
From a standpoint, the other one that was on the backside, I believe that was kind of in the parking area between the parking garage and the building F. I believe that one was pumped out, and I think they abandoned that one in place, so I think they filled that one, but MMG was involved with that. So those are the ones that I'm aware of that have been addressed. There are some tanks out there, but they're all above ground that I'm aware of now. And then the generator that we put in for the shelter is all piped in with natural gas.
Okay.
So as far as hazardous materials that was referenced in the documentation, it's just potential or?
No, like I said, I think that really hasn't been a major issue for us.
The only potentials you
Okay.
may
Just
have
wanted
as
to
you
know
go
some
through, maybe some older places that may have spot asbestos on ducts or piping in the basement or something like that. Because I know
Well,
there's,
this could be part of it
This
too.
will qualify, if so, then there would be plenty of areas around the windows
what's that?
Mold and
for
asbestos.
mold.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know we've got leaks in F and the main building that have caused issues down that do need to be addressed, yeah.
Okay, I'm saying that because just like the, what we're going through the process for the municipal auditorium, we are able to coordinate with the state, through the Brownfields program and pull funding that would, cover phase 1, phase 2, and RLF for the potential cleanup of those environmental factors. This has never been the case for Brownfields, in the past. It's a really amazing opportunity right now. The infrastructure bill is funding a lot of this. So I'm just saying if there's a need for any assessment work that needs to be done, I'm happy to assist with some of those.
Then yeah, I can, just having gone through the entire complex with FEMA recently, I can tell you, yes, definitely, there are places that have mold and water intrusion issues that have to be addressed.
It's usually mold combined with another hazardous substance. So if you have some asbestos or any kind of.
Well, that's just it. With the water getting in some of these things, what we've seen in other areas is that as the water leaks down, if there's anything that's on tape or ductwork, insulation, or something like that, then it becomes a bigger issue because it's makes that friable and flows with the water and gets on other stuff. So yeah, I would think there's potential for that.
Would it
Yeah,
benefit for
we
Brownfields
would want to,
though?
we would want to do that strategically.
Yeah,
You know, we don't want
absolutely.
to remediate mold, we have repair roofs and,
Yeah.
and,
No,
you know,
that's
all of that. So,
The
you know, we
building
will
use
definitely
plan.
keep that in mind as we
Absolutely.
are engaging work.
Okay. When you
but-
get to that time, please
Yeah,
let me
yeah.
know.
Is there a time limit on this?
Not right now.
But Mo, just once again, follow up, confirm your maintenance costs, because once again, as I'm expanding your scope for this money, you know, I want to make sure that I'm not dipping into money that you would need to maintain that.
Yeah.
unit.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's all we got for us.
Some of it, you know, again, it's a question of how you assess something. I became involved in something just this week, or last week. Vince and I briefly spoken about, where I got called into the criminal court and the clerical court complex. And some of it has to do with the old parish prison, which they use for being prisoners and storage of records, and the criminal court building itself, where the offices are. And amazingly, it's not amazingly, sadly, it's full of windows that leak. Moisture's always in the buildings, and where their records are. And they say the place smells of mold. They take files to the court, to the judge, and they say, this smells of mold. And there's no air conditioning, and so on and so forth. But this is like, I just got called into that and said, oh, Jerusso's going to be there, you better be there. Okay, so
Now, was that inside
Took
the
the
court
tour.
itself, or was that OPP? Where was
It's a
that?
combination.
Uh-huh.
The clerk's offices are in the court building.
Right.
But then you go through that tunnel and then you wind up in the old parish prison building where they have all their storage. And water's cascading everywhere when it rains. The IT room, I didn't know this until last week. The IT room in the criminal court building, which serves the clerk of the court, their IT room has water coming in every time it rains. On the floor, there's water. I never heard of that. I mean, I never heard of that. I've heard of it here. So the question here is who's going to remediate it? And by the way, I am talking to capital projects on this because Ellen, they have a big project that is not funded. That is not funded, but there's, and then
Well, it's not fully funded.
we don't fully fund it. Whatever.
We've got an exterior hardening project that we bid twice and it came in way over budget, so we're trying to find additional money. It's state funded. It is an exterior hardening and waterproofing project. We did the roof there already, and this would kind of complete the.
That's at the courts, not at
Yeah, right.
the OPP side.
Right, exactly. So we do have that on the books, and I'm moving forward to try to, deal with that. OPP, like you, Mo, we can't address problems if we don't know that they exist. So,
That's the first time I went into
right,
the
it's kind of
OPP. It's a
unfair to
prison.
have
It's
you
an old
with the
prison.
council person and then reveal issues to you that you've never heard of. So, we're working towards remedying that.
Yeah.
And, we just need to collaborate to
We
make
will.
sure that
We
we're
will.
on the same page.
And as you suggested, I'm gonna
You know,
put a meeting
address
together.
those
So there's a
issues.
new requirement, all of a sudden, somebody's gotta spend some money to fix that problem. The added problem there is, I was told by Alan, who said, the criminal court building is a historic, whatever, so you can't just go do windows fortification. You gotta worry about what, and you gotta get approval. And,
We're past all of that. We're ready to do the work.
Okay.
It just came in $3 million over budget. Small part.
And actually, both of those are historic buildings.
Oh,
because
they
were
are.
completed at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're doing anything that faces the street, when we were doing the stuff for the docks project, we actually had to be careful with what we did on the
Yeah.
street facing sides. Now, once you get into the interior, it's a little different, but just keep that in mind.
Well, we're running out of time. Can we go to the next one?
City Hall HVAC improvements, again, this is sort of prefaced on the fact that while there may be conversations about a new city hall, it's probably, my guess is it's probably 4 or 5 years away, in terms of occupancy, so we still got, I've only got an estimate of sort of, these skin units don't work, and I'm told somewhere between $2 and $3 million to take care of that problem. That alone, there's nothing coming out there.
And could that be addressed floor by floor?
It has to be. But so City Hall HVAC alone, we've gotten sort of lucky this year. Things have, despite the big leak upstairs that killed us for a while. And we're hanging there, but we're sort of hanging by a thread. I think this needs attention, and we need a plan to say, all right, we're going to be here for 4 more years. We've got to fix a couple of things. People can't be. I was derided by Council Member Thomas, who said, "Thank you for giving us heat in the summer and cool in the winter." I said, "Simple problem. Just change your clocks." And he was trying to be funny, and he didn't. No, it wasn't a bad joke, but.
The time, the delivery just wasn't. Work on well, but look, Mo, and once again, in that regard, we just replaced the cooling towers. We had a supply side project, so cooling towers, the chiller units have been replaced. So they're all brand new. But we've got you've got supply side and you've got distribution. supply is new. Issue is with distribution. So, and we are gonna, we will be in City Hall at least for another 3 years, if not more. So, in that regard, yes, you are going to, we're gonna have to figure out how to address distribution side issues that we have.
I also have to address, and this is where we need to do some work, on how to provide adequate HVAC in the case of a storm where the generators are not giving you HVAC, are not powering up the HVACs. So we need to talk
Yeah,
about that.
well, and we're doing that right now. We replaced the emergency generator. Everybody is aware of what happened with Ida and our generators failing. We just completed getting generators in and up. They're online. They're working. We are at the tail end. By the end of this month, we are going to have emergency power to the mayor's office, the CEO's office, the EOC, the IT, council. So, we have, we've set up having the emergency systems in those critical places. So, quite frankly, we're going to be in good shape in that regard. We're not going to be totally powering up City Hall, but everybody's not going to be here in an emergency. So I think we are in a place where coming into this hurricane season, we're going to be prepared and good to go. Now, we looked at trying to set up emergency power in property management, in finance, and there was another office, I think, purchasing. But there were just too many complications. So, that's going to be, we're going to have to decide if we want to do that. And actually, Mo, while I'm having this conversation, do me a favor, get with Robert.
I do, because
Look, this is my request.
Go ahead.
Just get with Robert and let's do this. Let's get an estimate of what it might cost to complete establishing emergency power for those offices, so that, and then plug that,
He may actually already have that.
you may want to include that in your city, in that number. Make sure that this number is robust enough to cover that.
you may have that, but I don't, and this is where I myself am confused. I gotta get with him.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we have HVAC doing a generator? And the generators are on.
Yes.
I know Homeland Security gets HVAC,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe the CAO's office gets HVAC, but nobody else.
No, the way we set it up, you're right. It's we're not running the City Hall
Correct.
system. The way we set it up, the emergency power will have the capacity to accommodate standalone. We bought portable units that people can roll in, plug in, and be ready to go. So that was a strategy.
And as an example, like in the mayor's office and the ones there, we have had called special extension cords that go from the panels,
Right.
and they're labeled as to where they hook up to and what they power, and then they can plug in temporary units.
Yeah,
In
and I think that's a
various
strategy
areas,
that's what
so.
we need to
Yeah.
engage for
By the way,
outstanding
just as an
policies.
aside, we ordered 40 temporaries, right?
Yes.
And we're gone in 2 weeks for other reasons. So I
Gotta
said,
get 'em back.
I need them back. I need them
Gotta
for
get
the
it back,
storm.
sir.
So,
Yes.
long story short, we wanted more because those things are still out there. It was just getting them back because a lot of the permanent problems that we put these temporaries out for are getting fixed. So we're getting them back. So, but I need them here in case of a storm. Okay.
Okay, so
We have about 5 minutes. We have 2 more requests. I'd like to give a little time for public comments.
Sure.
So, if you wanted to run through those two remaining requests.
Yeah, NOPD HQ windows, Vince, again, I need some help from capital. We've been carrying it as a budget item.
Mm-hmm.
There is no project underway, so it's just money set aside for replacement of HQ windows. I mean, we could make a case for a whole bunch of other windows, but anyway, HQ was a priority. What I don't know is if capital has some project in the works, or is this completely a DPM job to go ahead and get bids?
We do have a project.
NOPD HQ.
Yeah, we've got a project in the works. I don't know how, it's not comprehensive.
Yeah, right now, the goal at this point is obviously to replace all the windows. It's well beyond what we have funded. I think the idea right now is we've got a design. The engineers are moving forward with the design to do like recaulking, reglazing type of stuff. And that's what they're going with right now. And to address any of water intrusion issues that way, but it would not make them impact resistant glazing, anything like that. This is simply, addressing the water intrusion issue with.
We're gonna have a budget shortfall on that project, right? So Mo, twofold. This will cover that.
That's what I mean.
And was that building wide, Jerry?
Yeah.
That's a building wide? Okay, yeah. So actually, once again, get with Justin. Is this Justin's
Yes.
project?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jerry, let's make a note. Let's have Justin reach out to Mo to confirm that we should be far enough along in that project where we've got a budget number. So we just need to affirm the number that you've got plugged in.
Okay.
And
It was being carried at $1 million. I just have to, because I know it's conflictual.
that sounds low to me. But
It does sound low to me too. The last is some cemetery improvements. We've got some sidewalks to build, et cetera. And in fact, there are even some tombs that need some help. These are, anyway, it's conservatively budgeted at $500,000 a year. What is not in the budget is and we presented to the mayor the plan to close down a cemetery called Holt Cemetery, which I believe has been talked about for 50 years, closing down Holt. And I believe she approved it verbally, and she agreed that Holt needs to be closed. But more importantly, another cemetery needs to be opened. So we have not asked for capital for that. We're still looking at sites and so on, and then we'll probably ask for capital sometime next budget year to acquire some land if we have to acquire it, unless it's city-owned property already. So that's where we are. Questions?
To open it up for public comment, if anyone wanted to speak.
I'll say a few words just because I'm here. And I know many of you have worked with me. My name is Nathan Lott. I work at the Preservation Resource Center of New Orleans. And we work together in various capacities. I'm just here in part because we care about public buildings. Many of them are historic, arguably this one. They're also all located in historic neighborhoods, right? So when they're in dilapidated condition, it can have a negative effect. When they're in gleaming condition, they can have a positive effect. So, I would love for you all to have more money to be working with. I recognize that you're really trying to squeeze blood from a turnip sometimes. But I wanted to take the opportunity to be here to learn and also to bring my intern Camille Hansen, who's about to go into her second year at Tulane Law, see how the sausage is made, so to speak. We're working with Mr. Mahan a little bit on some projects that don't involve capital funds. We might be able to bring in some state and other funds to assist, and so we definitely want to do that, or we can with the many historic buildings that the city has and intends to retain. I think just listening today, I'm also reminded of conversations that I've had with Nola Public Schools and OPSB. Obviously, they have a big historic building fleet. They've had to shrink the school system, and then they've had to deal with dispositions. They've also now having to deal with the long-term ongoing maintenance of buildings that were fixed with FEMA dollars, and they know they're going to have a shortfall. So, putting out a millage later this year for what they're calling their schools preservation fund. It'll be an interesting kind of political moment to see how well that does at the polls. But maybe that's a model for the city to consider, some sort of facilities preservation dedicated millage that goes into these O&M issues. I've also worked over the years with Sewage and Water Board, and they have the same situation where they're now trying to come up with a master plan and a master O&M plan they've never really had, because they've been responding to leaky pipes at a time for 100 years now. It really seems like in this day and age, you know, we could have film for all of our existing buildings. We could have a digital twin. You know, the level of sophistication you could have in building fleet management now is just far beyond, I think, what any entity in the city has, and far beyond what we've invested in. So I think probably the thread that I hear here is this sort of facilities inventory and long-term, or at least, you know, 10-year maintenance plan that can be updated on a rolling basis. That seems like, if not low-hanging fruit, long overdue, and something that I could definitely see having value, even though it's going to cost us a long time.
Agreed.
Good, thank you. Any other comments?
Any more other comments? I think we are done.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vince.
I'm sorry.
Say that again, please. No, we killed that, because I talked to them and they said, they will worry about it themselves.
Yeah,
So,
they
4 million I put in,
submitted one.
we killed it.
Okay.
Workforce development.
Okay.
Job one, to take care of their own capital requirements.
Okay.